Part 117. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1167. The climate in Jingling City is dry and it rarely rains. This pattering autumn rain moistens everything, the air is refreshing, and the scenery becomes vivid and vivid. Huang Logui stood under the eaves, stretched himself, then dragged a chair outside the door, and sat and picked his teeth. There are 6 scattered villas by the lake, all of which were bought by Murong Cheng, and they are vacant as well. Huang Logui has been living here. Du Hao occasionally comes to stay for a few days. It's just that every time he came over, he was not as leisurely as Huang Logui, but his nerves were tense and he couldn't relax. Du Hao walked into the yard. His body was covered with a layer of dampness, and his straight trouser legs were also covered with embarrassing mud spots. Huang Logui opened his eyelids and glanced at him, with some gloat on his face. Have you caught up? Du Hao shook his head, and said humbly, it escaped too fast, I'm afraid only the seniors can subdue it. You can't even catch up, and I have old arms and legs, let alone catch up, Huang Logui laughed. Du Hao choked, looking at the other party's foolish appearance, thinking it would be useless to talk, so he walked into the room silently. When passing by Huang Logui, the thoughts tossed and turned in my heart, but I still couldn't hold back, and said one more thing, old man, if this matter is not resolved, you will not be able to leave for a day, why bother? Oh, what you said is so unconscionable, Huang Logui spat out a toothpick and shouted, I want to catch it too, but this ghost is too smart. It slipped away before it got there, and what can be done? Du Hao persuaded, mister, you have to think of a way. Isn't this just thinking about it? Huang Logui shook his legs, disapproving. Du Hao was silent for a while, and asked, mister, actually, you have no choice but to delay the time, haven't you? Huang Logui was stunned. The legs stopped shaking, the teeth stopped picking, and after a while, the eyeballs rolled around. What are you talking about? There is nothing I can do. Just kidding. Du Hao looked at him quietly. Huang Logui got up angrily, what kind of eyes are you? Ah! When I practiced Taoism, you were not born yet. How dare you question me? Are you so excited because you have a guilty conscience? Du Hao asked. Bullshit. You don't understand anything, I'm too lazy to tell you, old ghost Huang entered the room angrily. Du Hao looked at Huang Logui's back, and finally said something, old man, if you really have no choice, why not go back to the ghost village and find the person who sold the ghosts, maybe you can find a way, but don't be brave, if something happens, neither of us can bear the consequences. You and I know what kind of temper Master Wrong is, and it's easy to tear apart the skin. Huang Logui staggered up the steps for a moment. He stabilized quickly, and then went upstairs trembling. But I was thinking in my heart, do you think I am stupid? Don't I know where to call for help? But what if it still can't be solved, what will the old folks in my village do? In order to vent his anger, Murong Chen might massacre the village, right? After all, the ghosts are raised by their village and sold by their village, so they are regarded as accomplices. Who doesn't have the feelings of falling leaves returning to their roots? No matter how Huang Logui eats delicious food and spicy food outside, he still has to return to his hometown in the end. The ancestral graves are all there, so he has to be scrupled. But he doesn't want to die yet. That Muzening is really amazing. How did he find such a hidden place like the ghost village? How did you get on the line with the ghost seller? What a wicked way. The old ghost Huang was running around in a hurry in the house, and couldn't sleep at night, staring at his eyes all night, and his eyes were black and blue the next day, as if he had aged a lot overnight. He knocked on Du Hao's door, coughed twice, well, Xiao Du, I have something to discuss with you. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1168. Early in the morning, Bai Wei sent a rich breakfast to the upstairs bedroom. She didn't want Mu Zi to work hard up and down the stairs, and Murong Cheng also took advantage of his wife's favor and enjoyed the treatment of having breakfast in bed. With delicious food in his mouth, touching his wife in his hand, and having his own mother waiting by his side, Murong Cheng was very nourished and very comfortable. However, this comfort did not last long. The servant knocked lightly on the door. "Sir, Mr. Huang Lao and Mr. Du Hao are here." Huang Logui walked back and forth anxiously in the study. After walking around a few times, he turned his head and asked Du Hao, "Xiao Du, in your opinion, what shall we say later?" Du Hao said, "Senior, it's best to tell the truth." "Honestly speaking? There's nothing we can do about it." Old Ghost Huang stared at him with a look on his face that seemed to say, "Do you think I'm a fool?" Du Hao opened his mouth to say something, but when he heard approaching footsteps, he closed his mouth. Wearing home clothes, Murong Cheng walked into the study at a leisurely pace. Without looking at the two people in the study, he went straight to the desk and sat down. His thick short hair was disheveled, and he looked a bit listless, and his face was particularly gloomy, like a lion that had been woken up, full of irritability and danger in his laziness. Huang Logui panicked and jumped up and down. He didn't dare to say it at first, but seeing Murong Cheng's expression, he became even more afraid. "What do you want from me?" Murong Cheng asked impatiently. "Is that ghost caught?" "Ah, this Huang Logui glanced at Du Hao. "We're here, just to talk about this. Du Hao, come and tell me." Du Hao looked at old Ghost Huang. "What do you think I am doing? Tell me quickly." Huang Logui winked and urged, "Didn't you see Master Rong waiting?" Murong Cheng looked at them, frowning, and his face became more and more gloomy. "That's how it is." Du Hao was still amicable, taking no time to rush. "Yesterday the soul-binding bell rang outside the courtyard. It must have been the ghost trying to get close, but was frightened away by the soul bell. It's a pity that the spell in my hand, most of them are used to lure and absorb souls, and there is no effective way to deal with this kind of ghosts that cultivate climate, so." Speaking of this, Du Hao glanced at Huang Logui next to him, and continued, "I discussed with Mr. Huang, and I think that to untie the bell, you need to tie the bell. If you want to cut the grass and roots, you may need to go back to the ghost village and find a way to completely eliminate hidden dangers." Huang Logui thought to himself, that's a good point. At this moment, Murong Cheng sneered coldly, "It means that you can't clean it up, right?" Du Hao was silent. Huang Logui didn't say anything. The study was so quiet that a needle could be heard falling. After a long time, Murong Cheng gritted his back molars and asked them, "What if I can't find a way back to the ghost village?" Fearing that Murong Cheng would get angry with the villagers, Huang Logui hurriedly said, "This ghost is no ordinary little ghost. It can take away people's bodies, eat people's souls, and hide in ordinary people's bodies, making it hard to guard against. To drive it away and scare, of course, there are countless ways to do it, but it is not easy to completely kill it. Otherwise, why isn't the exorcist called a ghost killer? Why isn't the ghost hunter called a ghost killer? Because it is too difficult. From a physical point of view, a ghost is a special magnetic energy field that cannot be seen or touched. From a multidimensional space point of view, a ghost is a kind of infiltration effect from a different space." "Shut up," Murong Cheng shouted angrily. The voice was not loud, but Huang Logui's heart trembled and he immediately silenced. Murong Cheng's eyes were filled with gloom, as if a storm was accumulating, and he ordered in a low voice, "You two, go to the ghost village immediately. If you can't find a way, you should know my method." Old Ghost Wang's old face turned completely pale. "Master Rong, didn't you say that I'm not virtuous enough?" Murong Cheng smiled coldly. I set fire to this evil and crooked village to benefit the people. Do you think it's okay? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1169. Huang Logui almost burst into tears. No matter how crooked the evil spirit is, it is also the village where he was born and raised, that is his root. If he was really burned by Murong Cheng, Huang Logui really wanted to become the biggest sinner in the clan, how would he rest in peace after 100 years? If it doesn't work, just run away. I can't afford it, I can't afford it. Murong Cheng picked up his mobile phone and called Wang Zhan, choose 20 people over, and they have to have blood on their hands. It's a hard life. You personally watch to send Huang Logui and Du Hao into the ghost village. If people run away, you will also send them to the ghost village, no need to go back. Huang Logui's heart, damn it. Wang Zhan on the other end of the phone was also stunned, and blurted out, why is it me again? The name Ghost Village sounds evil at first glance. He doesn't want to go. Murong Cheng only felt that his good patience had been exhausted by these idiots, so he gritted his teeth, can you try talking nonsense again? Through the mobile phone, Wang Zhan seemed to be able to feel the murderous aura. He immediately became excited and said, I'll take people to Jingling right now. In the afternoon, no. We'll be there at noon. After hanging up the phone, Murong Cheng looked up at the two people in front of him. Old Ghost Wang's face was pale, and his head was covered with cold sweat. Du Hao's expression was natural. Anyway, no matter whether this matter is successful or not, he will not be too much at fault. The person who performed the resurrection ritual was Huang Logui, and the troublemaker was also from Huang Logui's village. No matter how old or new grudges were counted, Murong Cheng would only find Huang Logui. Murong Cheng looked at them, stay here for lunch. It means don't go. Before lunch was finished, Wang Zhan really pulled a group of strong men from Xianghai City to the villa. They didn't enter the house, and they all stood in the yard in a proper manner. Muzi raised her head and looked out, muttering, what is this for? Murong Cheng put a buttered cabbage in her bowl, and said lightly, this is the special operations team of the city government, they are going to destroy a cult pyramid selling den, and the key members there have some evil methods, so let the two of them go with you, to avoid accidents. Huang Logui just wanted to slap his own thigh, that's really good. Muzi was stunned, a cult. When Bai Wei heard it, she was also very surprised, a cult, the kind in TV dramas. Murong Cheng glanced at old Ghost Huang, so far, we have only received reports, as to whether there are any, depends on their performance. To be precise, it depends on Huang Logui's performance. Keep in touch when we get to the place, Murong Cheng explained. Du Hao put down the tableware and wiped the corners of his mouth in a gentle manner. Muzi felt weird, looked at Du Hao, then at Huang Logui, saw that there was still half of the rice in his bowl, couldn't help but said, let's go after eating. This time it's a special operation, every second counts, so don't delay. Murong Cheng said nonsense frankly, let's go. Du Hao bowed his body and walked out with Huang Logui. Muzi looked at old Wang's back, how could he feel that he was reluctant to leave? When the old man walked out, his figure was caught among 20 strong men, it was like escorting a prisoner. Wang Zhan came in a hurry with people, and then left in a hurry. Muzi felt that this was wrong. She turned her head and asked Murong Cheng, Wang Zhan is working in the city government now. When did he pass the civil service examination? Murong Cheng put another small cabbage in her bowl, raised his hand and rubbed her head, good boy, eat well, it involves government secrets, so we won't tell you. Mom, look at him, Muzi said angrily, he's just a mayor, look at him. Murong Cheng continued to taunt, I am the president's son-in-law. He obviously doesn't like others, but he always likes to pull their banners. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1170. The streets are bustling, and passers-by are in a hurry. A man in black was walking on the road, his steps were unhurried and his expression was dull. He seems to be more afraid of the cold than ordinary people. The temperature this day is not too low, but he has already put on a black turtleneck sweater and a dark, wide windbreaker. The windbreaker is very long, making him look thin and slender. There is a sense of rugged indifference. Indifferent men are always imaginative, and there are a few young women on the side of the road quietly watching, hesitating whether to go forward and ask for contact information. At this time, a little girl ran out of the convenience store with snacks in her arms and caught up with the man. The women who were secretly observing couldn't help but feel discouraged. It turns out that they even have children. Tang Tang carried a handful of lollipops in his pocket, then handed the cigarette to Mu Zening, the cigarette is yours, and the candy is mine. Mu Zening took the cigarette. Tang Tang followed him, opened a lollipop, put it in his mouth, and asked vaguely, where are we going next? Mu Zening looked down at her, does it still hurt? It hurts, she nodded and raised her knee again, it hurts like hell. She jumped off the car before it stopped, and fell so hard that half of her leg was swollen. Tang Tang said, my head hurts too. Mu Zening frowned slightly, head hurts too. Reaching out to touch her forehead, her skin was hot. You have a fever, Mu Zening sighed, it should be because of the rain. She didn't care too much, if her body was broken, it would be broken, anyway, she could get another one at any time. Mu Zening looked around. There were a lot of signs on the street, including an unremarkable private clinic. He led Tang Tang there. When I arrived at the clinic, I cleaned the wound, applied medicine, bandaged it, and then the doctor prescribed a box of antipyretic medicine. 3 times a day, drink it with water, the doctor said. If the child finds it unpleasant to drink, you can add some rock sugar to her. Mu Zening didn't take the box of medicine, let's get an injection, we're in a hurry. She doesn't have a bad fever, just take medicine. Before the doctor finished speaking, Mu Zening took out a few banknotes, put them on the table, and said calmly, we are in a hurry and need to reduce the fever as soon as possible. The doctor couldn't hold on anymore, so he collected the money and prepared to dispense medicine and give injections. Just stood up, and heard the guest in front of me say, give me some more standing medical equipment, and the medicine in the cabinet over there, I need it too. That's not acceptable. I'm here to see a doctor, not a pharmacy. The doctor was a little unhappy, besides, all the medicines in it are prescription medicines, which can only be used by licensed physicians, and it's impossible to sell them to you. Mu Zening took out a thick wad of money from the black handbag and put it on the table. The doctor's eyes widened in surprise. Mu Zening took out another wad of money and put it on the table. Sweat dripped from the doctor's forehead. He looked at the money in bewilderment, and then at the silent Mu Zening, unable to turn his head around. When Mu Zening took out the third stack of money, the doctor was flustered. He stared dryly at the dark handbag, wondering if there would be a fourth wad of money in it. Mu Zening really reached in again. It's just that what was brought out this time was not money, but a pistol with a metallic luster. The doctor inhales sharply. Which one should you choose? Mu Zening asked calmly as he placed the pistol in front of him. Money, money, choose money. The doctor stared at the gun on the table in horror, his Adam's apple rolling. Don't kill me. Well, I won't kill you. Mu Zening withdrew the pistol expressionlessly. Go and give her an injection. The doctor didn't dare to delay, and just wanted to send the plague god away quickly. Tang Tang looked at the shining long needle, smiled, and held the doctor's hand instead. You won't call the police, will you? The doctor shook his head with a pale face. I've seen it all. Tang Tang clenched her hands even tighter, with a smile on her face. Your wife is pretty, but she's a little fat. Is the child 2 years old? There are quite a lot of toys at home. Well, I like the bear lamp, and the wallpaper is nice, but the yellow curtains are so ugly. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1171. Tang Tang's tone of voice was slow and soft, every sentence was like thunder to the doctor's ears. He fell down on the ground, spilled all the bottles and cans, and said incoherently, You, how do you know? Okay, don't scare him. Mu Zhenning frowned slightly, wasting time. Tang Tang curled her lips, aren't I afraid that he will be stupid, and that he will cost the lives of the whole family for nothing? The doctor on the ground trembled even more when he heard this. Mu Zhenning sighed lightly, and gave up any hope. He picked up the medicine bottle and shook it, skillfully inhaled the syringe, then asked Tang Tang to unbutton his clothes, exposing his shoulders, and inject the medicine into her upper arm. Afterwards, they took away many medical devices and medicines from the clinic, and left 3 wads of banknotes, but the doctor did not call the police in the end. Mu Zhenning took Tang Tang on a bus bound for the suburbs. The bus was wobbly, perhaps because the route was remote and there were few passengers. Mu Zhenning and Tang Tang were sitting in the last row. After he got in the car, he closed his eyes and rested, while Tang Tang chatted with great interest. You know, she's pregnant with 2, both boys. It's a pity. I don't like boys. I don't like brothers and sisters either. It's best to have only one girl. Everyone dotes on me. Everything in the house is mine. Whoever steals it from me will die. Do you like boys or girls? If you like boys, I can't try, but boys can't wear skirts, I like wearing skirts. And boys will grow beards when they grow up, forget it, it's better to be a girl. What do you think? Tang Tang talked alone for a long time, but Mu Zhenning didn't respond. She stretched out her hand and pushed him. Hey, I want to ask you something. Mu Zhenning closed his eyes, as if he was taking a nap. Tang Tang's face darkened, her black eyes were deep, and a cold and hostile air flowed out. You weren't like this before. She looked at Mu Zhenning, her voice was deep, suppressing an unknown emotion. Mu Zhenning still ignored it. Tang Tang was furious. You used to tell me everything, but now you don't even talk to me. Talk to me. Don't you want me again? The sharp shout pierced the tranquility in the car, and the passengers sitting in front all turned their heads to look over. Mu Zhenning finally opened his eyes. Seeing that nothing happened, the passengers thought it was a child throwing a temper tantrum, and turned back one after another. The bus swayed and continued to drive forward. Mu Zhenning looked at Tang Tang, and said calmly, I came to look for you from Xinjiang. To avoid the police system, I can't take planes or trains. I can only drive here by myself. I drove for 15 hours, and then people in Jingling City have been looking for you, and I haven't slept for 2 days, and now I just want to rest for a while. Tang Tang stared at him fixedly, with surprise and suspicion on her small face. You drove 15 hours. You look for me everywhere. Tang Tang stared at him for a while, his face changed from cloudy to sunny, and he said with a smile, then you should rest. After all, she hugged his arm affectionately, and said in a crisp voice, let's get out of the car after we have a rest. What is this called? The car will always arrive at the station, how can we rest forever? They got off at an empty station and walked along the path, with endless wheat fields on both sides. When the wind blew over, the air sucked into his lungs was cold and dry, and Mu Zhenning coughed a few times. Tang Tang looked at his thin and straight back, thought for a moment, then she chased after him. Let me try again, she said. Didn't you always say I was smart? This time I'm sure I'll do it. Mu Zhenning stopped walking slightly, and continued to walk forward. She pursed her mouth, reached out and grabbed his cuff, feeling infinitely wronged. Don't want me. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1172. The weather is getting colder and colder, and Mu Zi's delivery date is gradually approaching. It took her 2 weeks to complete the thesis to be handed in at the end of the term, and another day to check and revise it. After confirming that it was correct, she sent it to the school. After handing in the homework, I wandered around the house by myself and wandered around. Wandering to the study room, Murong Cheng was having a video conference inside. Wandering to the restaurant, Bai Wei was making flour cakes according to the tutorial. Wandering to the gate, it was cold outside, too cold to go out. Mu Zi went back to the bedroom and lay down. Her body was so heavy that she was uncomfortable no matter how she lay down. Silently, anxiety breeds. Mu Zi sighed, sat up with her arms propped up, leaned on the bed, rubbed her stomach and thought about something. Murong Cheng pushed the door open and came in, tilted his head to look at her, with a smile in his eyes. What? Prenatal anxiety. Fortunately. Mu Zi murmured, holding her stomach in both hands. Murong Cheng also came over to touch it, and Mu Zi asked him, have you decided on a name for the child? Think it over. Murong Cheng had a smug expression on his face, as if he was prepared. Mu Niansu, Mu Nianzi. Mu Zi blushed slightly. This was too straightforward. Murong Cheng said, Mu Aisu and Mu Aizi are also good. Mu Zi complained, are you picking a name or reading a love poem? Your names are all girls' names. Mu Zi muttered in a low voice, what if it's a boy's name? Murong Cheng frowned, did the doctor say it was a boy? No. Mu Zi shook her head lightly, but the doctor didn't say it must be a girl. If the doctor didn't say it, then it must be a girl. Murong Cheng was sure, if it was a boy, he would have congratulated your dad long ago. Who doesn't know that the Sidhu family is going crazy for a boy? Mu Zi was dubious, is that so? But my mother said that my stomach shape looks like a boy. Murong Cheng smiled, Mom? Do you believe her half-baked knowledge of Chinese medicine? The Bai family's medical skills are passed on from male to female, but our mother's nursing skills are quite good. Mu Zi squinted at him silently. She felt that Murong Cheng was sick, and when he became crazy, he would have no limits, very childish. It's still half-baked, you don't have anything. Mu Zi muttered, you should also pick up some spare names for boys. When Murong Cheng heard this, he frowned and thought. Mu Zi opened her eyes slightly, you don't think you didn't pick a boy's name? It's still early, let's talk about it later. Murong Cheng looked irritable, obviously not interested in naming the boy. Mu Zi couldn't help saying, it's getting late. I'm going to give birth next week. They've already made an appointment for a C-section next Monday. Don't worry, don't worry. Murong Cheng stroked Mu Zi's back and smoothed her hair, isn't there still 2 days left? I'll call my father-in-law tomorrow. He's an educated person. Let him help me think about it too. Think. Mu Zi lost his temper, hugging his stomach and pressing on Murong Cheng, pinching his face hard. Murong Cheng grinned from being pinched, but he still didn't forget to tease her, baby, my face doesn't matter, but you have to be careful, don't press the child out. Mu Zi snorted heavily. But my stomach seems to be a little uncomfortable. When I got older, my body was always uncomfortable. I was short of breath after walking a few steps, my legs hurt, my waist was sore, I didn't feel like eating, and I was so irritable. Mu Zi, I never thought that pregnancy would be like this. It's not really torture, It's just like a blunt knife sharpening. She wished the doctor could quickly cut her up and give her a good time. Murong Cheng put his arms around her and kissed her, coaxing her in a good-tempered manner, "Don't be anxious, it's just this once, and I won't let you suffer like this in the future." Muzi, I said angrily, "It's no wonder you believe what you say. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1173. Murong Cheng's dream of wanting 3 little princesses is still in his ears, and Muzi counts these 2 in his stomach. Even if they are all girls, there is still one short. If it's a boy, then she is finished. When will she be born? Muzi turned over with difficulty, facing Murong Cheng face to face. She said solemnly, "You swear, you will never let me have children again?" Murong Cheng thought for a while, then nodded, "I swear, after giving birth to this baby, if I let you have another child, I will be punished so that I will not be able to have a son in the future." Muzi, how much do you really want a son? Murong Cheng said to himself, "When you finish confinement, we will go to Xianghai. Jingling is cold and dry. It is troublesome to take the children out for a walk after the winter vacation. We will come back when school starts next year." When mentioning the start of school, Muzi thought of next year's internship. Starting in March next year, it will be the last half-term of the training institute. At that time, I should arrange to practice in a law firm, and then I will face a choice. Choose. Muzi sighed softly. She still hasn't figured out how to choose. Murong Cheng heard her sigh and asked her, "What's wrong?" "The teachers at the school think that I am more suitable as a lawyer." Muzi was very conflicted. "What do you think?" "Well, the lawyer is good," Murong Cheng said, "it's very free when you don't have a case." Muzi pursed her lips, but said nothing. Seeing that she didn't respond, Murong Cheng recalled it vaguely and asked, "Do you want to be a prosecutor?" "I don't know." Muzi sighed again, and said sullenly, "Maybe affected by the last time the pet abuse case, the teachers thought I wasn't well behaved. In fact, after thinking about it carefully, I might become a lawyer. It's really more appropriate. People in the system really need more rules. Too much pursuit of individuality will only increase the load on the operation of the entire organization." Murong Cheng said, "But you don't have to think too much about whether it is suitable or not. As long as you like, you can do whatever you want." Muzi looked at him, "Then why do I insist on being a prosecutor?" "Okay," Murong Cheng smiled, "you can do as long as you are happy. People living in this world, it is best to be selfish. Make yourself happy first, and then think about how to benefit the society and create value, so that you will contribute willingly. If conversely, it is against one's will, a hypocritical false nobility." Muzi laughed, "It's not easy. After becoming the mayor, I can say a few serious things." "What did I say before that was not serious?" "Which sentence are you passing?" "It's because you didn't understand it carefully. Maybe there is a philosophy of life hidden in the words." Muzi thought, "It is true that there are dirty jokes hidden." She could argue with each other in court, but she couldn't justify Murong Cheng's fallacies, so she gave him a blank look and ignored him. After lying in bed for a while, it was time for dinner. She had no appetite, but thinking of the child in her stomach, she forced herself to eat some. As usual after dinner, she had to take a few laps to digest food, and it was too cold outside, so she wandered around the house, but today her stomach swelled so badly that she couldn't bear it. After walking half a lap, her whole hip bones were sore and swollen. It was extremely uncomfortable, so it is comfortable to lie down. Bai Wei said it was a normal phenomenon. After all, the delivery date was approaching, and it was twins again, so it was definitely uncomfortable. Be patient, being a woman always has to go through this kind of experience. When the child is born, you will feel that all the hardships you have suffered now are worth it. Bai Wei comforted her. Muzi I nodded and listened. She could only bear it. What if she couldn't bear it? The more uncomfortable her body was, the more she seemed to have an evil fire in her heart. When she saw Murong Cheng, she lost her mental balance and had to pinch her hands to dispel her anger. Why don't men have children? The anger of pregnant women is unreasonable. Murong Cheng is also used to it, it's just for fun. In the middle of the night, Muzi I woke up the sleeping Murong Cheng, and Murong Cheng thought she was going to torment himself again, so he asked in a good temper, is it thirsty, hungry, sweaty, stomachache, leg cramps, or do you want to go to the bathroom? Muzi I said, I'm going to give birth. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1174. Murong Cheng was stunned, wondering if he heard it wrong. Because Muzi I's voice was so calm, there was no trace of nervousness or panic. Murong Cheng asked, what's wrong with you? Muzi I clutched the quilt, and frowned. I said, I'm going to give birth. This time, Murong Cheng finally heard the tension in her tone, and his heart beat violently. Not daring to delay, he got up and got out of bed the next moment, called to arrange a car, and informed the doctor he knew well in the hospital. He checked the time, and it was 1:34 in the morning. Murong Cheng asked Muzi I, does it hurt a lot? No. It doesn't hurt too much. Muzi I shook her head and kept her original posture, sitting on the bed without moving. She took a deep breath slowly, tried to relax herself, and then looked up. Murong Cheng was still standing stupidly by the bed, suddenly furious. Why are you in a daze? Go and call mom over here, Muzi I growled. After yelling, she felt that the liquid below was gurgling again. She didn't dare to speak loudly, and she exhaled again to keep calm. Murong Cheng's expression became more serious, and he wanted to find Bai Wei, but he was worried about leaving Muzi I behind, so he could only stand at the door and shout, Mom! The end of the shout was a little floaty. Even the mighty lion sometimes cowardly, Muzi I almost burst out laughing. Bai Wei knew something was wrong when she heard the shout. She hurried over wrapped in her pajamas, and asked, is it going to be a baby? Muzi I immediately had a backbone and said, Mom, my water broke. Oh, slow down, don't move too much, or flow more. Bai Wei quickly pulled out some clothes to change, put on a thick down jacket for Muzi, and packed a big bag of baby bottles, towels, handkerchiefs, and other odds and ends, and instructed her son, take Zizi to the car, when you go down the stairs slow down, don't fall. When Bai Wei was busy, Murong Cheng had already got dressed. Wearing thick and bulky clothes in winter, he picked Muzi up from the bed, his expression changed involuntarily, so heavy. Muzi I was so angry that he wanted to kick him. You raised it yourself, and you don't know what to do. Murong Cheng carried her out of the room, and said as he walked, I didn't expect you to absorb it so well. Mom! Don't let him follow you. Muzi I was furious, I'll give birth myself. Oh, don't fight anymore, you two, you are still acting like children. Noisily got into the car. Bai Wei sat in the front, Murong Cheng sat in the back with his arms around Muzi I, bodyguards followed in front of and behind the car. Not long after Muzi I got into the car, she started to have labor pains. The pain was so painful that she didn't bother to scold Murong Cheng, she just repeatedly emphasized, I'll cut it to the hospital. This is so painful that I can't take it anymore. Murong Cheng nodded, cut it up, cut it out. After a while Muzi I said again, after giving birth to this baby, there will be no more births. Murong Cheng coaxed her, I won't give birth, I won't give birth, be good, I'll be at the hospital soon, hold on. Muzi I was in great pain, I can't bear it, I'm going to come out. Everyone in the car was sweating. When I arrived at the hospital, the nurse checked that the cervix was fully dilated, and rushed to the delivery room. Muzi was in a hurry, grabbed a hand randomly, no matter who it was, and said, "I want to have an incision. I want to be anesthetized." "Oh, you're in an acute labor, and you're coming out soon, so let's make it as smooth as possible." The nurse was used to the wind and rain, and said calmly, "When the anesthetist arrives and the operating room is ready, your baby will be out long ago. This is different from the plan." Muzi burst into tears in pain, and was pushed into the delivery room by a group of people. Murong Cheng couldn't calm down anymore. How could the cesarean section turn into a normal delivery? How can the delivery within 48 hours after the labor pains become urgent? "I'll go in with her," Murong Cheng hurriedly said. "It's always played like this on TV, the wife is working hard there, and the husband is cheering on, the picture is super touching." Muzi was already in pain, she was going crazy, and when she heard Murong Cheng's voice break down even more, she shouted in a disembodied hiss, "Mom! Let him out! Get out!" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1175. What are you kidding? This is giving birth. Naked, bloody, giving birth without any sense of beauty. Maybe philosophers and literati can see the sacredness of the birth of life from it, but Muzi can't. You can't spread your legs wide in front of others, and let the whole process be exposed under the eyes of the other party. Even with the closest lover, she can't do it. It doesn't matter if you say she is conservative in thinking, or she is prejudiced against women's bodies, in short, you can't do it. Feeling so ashamed. Including lying on the delivery bed now, letting the nurse help her expand a little bit, her face is also flushed. God, this kind of thing is really enough once, and I don't want to have children anymore. Why do women have to suffer like this? Muzi burst into tears. Giving birth is very painful, and the feeling is hard to describe, and Muzi doesn't want to look back, but after giving birth to two little boys, when the word woman comes to mind again, she seems to have a different experience. One of the two children weighed 4.8 kilograms and the other weighed only 4.3 kilograms. Muzi only took one look, and the nurse sent the child to the incubator. After feeling relieved, great fatigue swept over, and before Muzi had time to fully feel the taste of becoming a mother, she fell asleep unbearably exhausted. Didn't sleep too much because she soon felt someone lift her onto a push bed and out of the delivery room. The wheels of the push bed rubbed against the floor, creaking from time to time, and the flowing air brushed against the cheeks, making it cool. Muzi felt that all her sense organs were present, and everything happening around her was clear, except that her eyelids could not be opened. She is so tired. Murong Cheng and Bai Wei's complaints could be heard next to her ears, the voice was very low, maybe she was afraid of waking her up, could the nurse have picked up the wrong one? Why are both of them boys? Bai Wei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What are you thinking? Zizi is the only woman in the delivery room at this time, and she is the only one who is pregnant with twins, how could it be wrong? Murong Cheng was still struggling. Why is it a boy? It seems that these months of anticipation have been in vain. Muzi scolded in her heart, scumbag. After scolding, I still couldn't understand the hatred, and changed the word in my heart, scum. At this time, Bai Wei persuaded him, what a wonderful boy, how cute he can protect his mother when he grows up. Murong Cheng snorted, is it not enough for me to protect her? Muzi was so angry that she wanted to jump up from the bed and pick his ears. What the hell are you doing? Bai Wei laughed and slapped Murong Cheng lightly. They are all having children, so they must act like a father quickly. Murong Cheng said lightly, I don't know what it's like to be a father. These words probably made Bai Wei's heart hurt, and Muzi never heard Bai Wei's voice again. When Murong Cheng was sensible, Mr. Mu was over 60 years old. He was either sitting in a wheelchair or lying on the bed, not to mention father-son relationship, but more like a grandson. After entering the ward, Murong Cheng stayed with Muzi and Bai Wei went home. It's only after 4 o'clock, Bai Wei has to go back to cook porridge so that Muzi can eat when she wakes up. In fact, Murong Cheng had invited a nutritionist long ago, but it was of no use. He was always helping Bai Wei. Musa was drowsy, listening to the mother and son talking. The voice gradually faded away and became blurred, and finally the world was at peace, and Musa fell asleep. This time I slept very deeply, without dreaming. After waking up, I felt much more relaxed and my energy was restored. She opened her eyes, turned her head and saw Murong Cheng lying beside her bed. His thick short black hair was pressed into a mess, the stubble on his chin had sprouted all night, and his shirt was also crumpled. He's like a slob. Muzi raised her hand and rubbed her fingers into his hair, feeling extremely relieved for no reason. No matter what happened, it was nice to see him as soon as I opened my eyes. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1176. Murong Cheng was woken up by her, and looked up at her. How do you feel? Muzi said, I'm a little thirsty. Murong Cheng got up to pour water, and he took a big sip when he tested the temperature of the water. Last night was chaotic, and his nerves were always tense, and he hadn't even drank any water. After drinking the water, Muzi asked the time, and Murong Cheng said it was just after 7 o'clock. He opened the curtains a little. The sun rises late in winter, and the sky is still gray at this time. Muzi looked at it for a while, then asked, when can I see the child? Murong Cheng was slightly stunned, and asked back, do I need to see it? Didn't they send it to us? Muzi Probably because Muzi's expression was too ugly, Murong Cheng consciously went out, sent the bodyguards outside to ask, and came back after a while and told her, it's upstairs, you can go to see it whenever you want, but you can't go in, you can only go to the other side, look through the glass. Let's go and have a look now. Muzi sat up with her arms propped up. After all, it is the meat that fell from my stomach, and I can't just throw it aside after giving birth. It has to be said that the difference in physiological structure makes men and women have innate differences in how they treat children. When Muzi gave birth, there was some tear on the lower part. Although it was stitched up, it still hurts now, and it is inevitable that the wound will be involved when walking. Murong Cheng had someone bring the wheelchair over, and carefully carried her onto it. When sitting down, Muzi frowned slightly. What, it hurts? Murong Cheng stretched out his hand to pull her pants. Is it torn again? Let me see. Muzi annoyed him to death, and pulled his hand away. Don't make trouble. How can this be trouble? Murong Cheng frowned, with a rather serious expression. Let me help you take a look. What if it really cracks? Muzi's face was flushed, and her temper also came up. She held his hand tightly and said, I won't let you see it. Murong Cheng was helpless. What are you shy about? It's not like you haven't seen it. Muzi only felt a buzzing in his head. What did you say? She stared at Murong Cheng in disbelief. When did you watch it? Murong Cheng said calmly, when you fell asleep. Muzi's eyes widened. Murong Cheng really didn't understand what Muzi was thinking about, and he said, you are removing lochia, cleaning the wound, putting on sanitary pads, changing underwear. I not only looked at it, but also touched it. Why, there is a problem. Muzi opened her mouth, speechless. She always thought it was Bai Wei who changed her underwear. Murong Cheng looked at her expression, then seemed to understand something. raised his eyebrows slightly, and said proudly, "That was originally my thing." Muzi raised her forehead, she didn't want to say a word. It was a mistake to discuss this kind of topic with Murong Chang. When the two were in a stalemate, the nurse opened the door and came in. Seeing them, she smiled and said, "Mr. Mu and Mrs. Mu have a really good relationship." After finishing speaking, he took out the electronic thermometer and said with a smile, "Come on, take your temperature." Muzi cooperates. Then the nurse asked about other physical conditions. Muzi took the opportunity to ask about the child. The nurse said, "Very good, although the weight is a little light, but he is considered a strong boy among the twins, and he is quite strong. I guess he should be able to come out after living in the incubator for 8 or 9 days." Only then did Muzi feel relieved. The more I feel that what Murong Cheng is talking about is nonsense, it's useless to talk nonsense for a long time. The couple went to see the child together. Seeing those two little things through the glass, Muzi's heart was about to melt. When I was first born, I was too tired and didn't feel much, but the more I look at it now, the more cute it is. I just don't know which is the older brother and which is the younger brother. Her eyes fell on the child's ankle, where the newborn baby's message was tied. She saw that one had Mu Dabeo written on it, and the other had Mu Ziobeo written on it. Muzi frowned, and looked at Murong Cheng. "What name did you ask?"